Remember, they had sort of kicked him out of the cool group at school for being gay, so he kinda turned to us for a new group of friends. It's true, he told me all this. Anyway, we went back to Brad's house. The record was still playing. Now we warned Nate. He seemed unimpressed by our somber warning. Again. Because at the time he didn't believe us. He put the headphones on, we gave him paper and a pencil. The rest, of course, is well-recorded history. That episode with the record is how Nathan's list of in-the-know record stores in our city was composed. Of course, back then we only had the names and locations. Nathan wrote them all down on the paper, scribbled them, really, and then when the thing started looping he put them down, with a half-bewildered and half-amused look. He said that's all. And I am not shitting you when I say that not more than 1 second passed after that's all that the record emitted the most brutalized, awful scream. It was like a wave of metal crashing into a sea of metal, with tortured people screaming over it. It was like a tower or church organ stacked on top of each other. It fucking blew out Brad's headphones. We all stood there in shocked silence. Nathan was slack-jawed. It's a funny image now, but back then I felt bad for him. Because we had used him and put him in danger. He's forgiven us for it now. We just stood there in silence with the list in hand. And well, the record never stopped making that horrible sound as far as I could tell, except Brad's headphones were shot. He lifted the cartridge and took out the record. It was scratched all over. Aaron grabbed it and broke it in two in a moment of righteous fury. Of course that list would lead to tons of other stuff. The expeditions, the midnight chases, the run-in with the doctor, as we discovered which stores were safe and not safe and never safe. But that came later. Right after this happened we, Brad, Nathan, Toddy, Aaron and myself, drove right the fuck back to this audiophile fuck's apartment, wanting a series of explanations. During the drive there we got Nathan up to speed on the whole thing, that this is where we had bought the record, that Brad originally thought it was a Swan's Live record, that we tended to get into weird shit. The official term wouldn't appear until later, like this unnervingly often. He was still amused, but I think he was also a little scared. By the time we got to the guy's place it was nighttime. We stormed up the steps to the third floor where the guy's apartment was. This was a somewhat abandoned building by the way, in a somewhat shitty part of town, and the whole scene was a little perturbing. But anyway Aaron, who always takes the lead when shit is expected to go down, knocked on the door impetuously, and nobody answered. He kept knocking for like a whole minute. Toddy started complaining that it was cold and in this part of town they might try to jack the car and we should go. Then suddenly the door budged, and it opened, abruptly and unexpectedly. And we entered the apartment. There was only one light on, a naked light bulb hanging from the center of the living room ceiling, barely illuminating anything, and out of the corner of my eye I saw the ferret scurrying about in the darkness. But the guy, the bastard, was nowhere to be found. But all his stuff was still there. This is when Toddy noticed that something that'd been spray painted on the far wall, in big, fat letters. Welcome. Forever open for business, just for pre-admitted customers. Please pay exact amount in cash, leave in sync, thank you, have a nice day. These 3 lines had been sprayed onto the far wall. We had to combine the illuminating power of all our cell phones to read it. This is when it hit us, and we realized that the guy was gone for good. For some reason we were certain of it. Mostly everyone was just weirded out, but Brad looked knowing. And then he spilled the rest of the story. Apparently the guy was a part of a sort of underground circle of really obsessive record collectors in the city. Apparently the day when Brad and I originally went to the apartment Brad had sort of taken an entrance exam with the guy, where he asked him about music and if he answered enough obscure shit correctly he gained entrance into this circle, which presumably implied access to lots of rarities and oldies. But Brad also mentioned that the guy was moving soon and he'd let him know about his new address. The guy has never gotten into contact with Brad, by the way, nor has he ever come back to his apartment. We still use it sometimes. We go there, surprised that nobody else has robbed it clean by now. We browse the shelves, we find a record we like, and we pay the exact amount in cash, on the kitchen sink. We feel a little silly because there's a rather big pile of money building up there. It's not like the money disappears overnight or anything cheesy, but we feel like we should pay. Toddy wants to take one of the ferrets home, but that doesn't feel right to us either. I guess they're like cats, they find their own food wherever. And to this day, this is the only store we consider safe. The Ignominious X, Café Haiti, 42nd Street, 1995. Do you remember all the stories your parents told us about Yuga Park when they were our age? It was like the nicest, most tranquil, beautiful, genteel bubblegum place in the world. It was cardigans and schoolgirls in miniskirts and kids playing soccer until 5 in the afternoon, at which point they went home and fought over control of the TV remote because they wanted to watch cartoons, but their older brothers wanted to watch reruns of old action movies, and then mothers would come in and say, "Fuck you both, we're watching my afternoon soaps," and that would be that. Oh man. Weren't those nice and fun and clean times? Now what does Yuga Park look like? I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like cats and whores. Cats and whores. Did you know about the whores? Yeah, you knew about them, alright. You're a lot more, oh let's say worldly, than you let on. Yeah, well, I met up with the guy, the one I've told you should talk to. He runs the record store deal out of his apartment. He's in on this shit too. Anyways, I was meeting up with him. I think I was sitting on the bench that's next to the kids' seesaw, or maybe it was in front of the bust of the General Commander Sergeant. The park was established in his honor or something. Actually, I think I was sitting on the bench in front of that sign they just put up the other day, something like "Please clean up your pet's waste" or whatever. Anyway, it's all bullshit. It was like nighttime, but not really nighttime. It was twilight, around 6. It was that time of day we all love because it feels lazy and old, and the sunlight is coming from just the right angle to illuminate everything like an old picture, you know. Okay, so Yuga Park. I'm at Yuga Park. This is like just 5 days ago. This is completely recent shit. I hope you're paying attention because you and we can't go to that place anymore. As a matter of fact, I suggest you advise all your little friends on the dangers of Yuga Park. And I'm not just talking about getting mugged or drugged or raped or kidnapped at night or all that other fun teenage shit. I'm talking about real danger. I'm talking about the guys. The sunlight was really nice and I was just sitting there watching people like Brad does. You know, he likes doing that. He's weird. I was just letting go and enjoying the moment, and this asshole, at first I thought he was a fag, and he was like, coming onto me. That happens a lot in Yuga Park, too, you know, it happens too much. Have you noticed that everyone is looking at us weird? Get the check. Let's go to the back. The ignominious ex continues his story in the back alley behind Cafe Haiti. After being unceremonious, asshole sits next to me and starts killing my buzz. I think he was trying to provoke me, probably. He was whispering this shit at me, trying to look totally normal and natural. He had a snake tattoo, by the way. It was this stupid fucking snake tattoo wrapped around his arm. It was the stupidest shit I've ever seen. And I've seen lots of stupid shit, mostly coming from old people. So this guy says something like, "Do you know who the brutalists are?" And I'm like, fuck, now I'm screwed. But really screwed. Because well, he's talking about the brutalists. The brutalists, they're all part of the group, it's a thing they do. It's the brutalists, the nobles, the legion, and one more, but I don't remember what it's called. Write this shit down later. This is exactly what they do. I said something like, "Fuck you, man. I don't know what you're saying, leave me alone." Suddenly I realize how dark it has gotten and everyone has left. There are like 5 more of these assholes, they were all dressed really nicely, surrounding me. And they just look at me, grinning. Really wide grins. They have weirdly straight deep eyes which are just too wide, like, around the retina. They're pure evil. I just know that. I can tell. So the one sitting next to me stands up and says, "Come with us." I'm not Aaron, okay? I can't just activate my super strength or whatever it is he has and pounce on 5 guys. Plus I was still kind of tripping. So I just kept quiet and kept my head down. I looked to see if there's any police or decent people that might help a poor boy being assaulted by a bunch of evil men. But there's nobody around. Yuga Park is fucking deserted all of a sudden. It's like people disappear on those few moments when you would actually like them to be around. So I went, reluctantly with them. I thought they were going to take me behind someplace and beat me up or mug me or worse. But no, these weren't muggers. Of course, they weren't a gang either. These were upstanding members of society. I picked it up the second he started talking about the brutalists. These were the assholes who were kicked out of the Clan of Adoration, I think that's what it's called, and wanted to get back in. So they started asking me, "Where does Erica live? Does she live with her parents? How does she rank? How long have they been in the clan?" And I just shook my head. I'm not a coward, and not a snitch. I wasn't going to say anything. My plan was just to pretend that I didn't know Erica at all, and didn't know what they were talking about either. Actually, I don't know how they even knew that I was associated with any of that, and I'm not, anyway, so it doesn't make sense. But back to the story, I was in this fucking seedy back alley, there was no moon in the sky, just a really desolate streetlight in the far left, and I have these 5 guys ganging up on me. I think at this point I started to make peace with the fact that I was going to die here, because the guy with the snake tattoo took out a knife. I think I got really brave all of a sudden. I was like, fuck, I don't care. You're going to carve up some kid because of something so stupid, are you retarded? I started to really make a racket. I think someone could have heard me in the distance. I figured that if they didn't stab me first someone would come to my rescue, but no one did. Plus it got really foggy that night, which was weird because it's still summer. They kept pushing and pushing. And I don't really have much else to say because I kept denying everything. So the guy got really mad. He picks me up by the collar, the other ones start inching closer. I can feel their combined breath on my face. It was caustic. They had the worst breath in the world, like they were rotten from the inside. They tossed me onto some garbage bags in a back alley and left me there. I was still in a daze, and I didn't see where or how they left, but I think they got in a car after turning a corner. And, well, fuck, you can see what kind of reminder they left me with. X then pointed to a sutured cut on his left cheek. It was pretty deep, by the way. The doctor said I was lucky or whatever. I told Mom that I got mugged. What else was I gonna say anyway? Don't tell Erica about this, I don't want her getting paranoid. They're not gonna touch anyone unless you get in their range of action. Just don't go near Yuga Park. I'm pretty sure they're keeping tabs on all of you, on your whole little group, so I'm going to try and keep anything bad from happening. I can't promise anything though, as you can see. So just be careful out there, they're losers anyways. This isn't like the New World Order or anything, just a bunch of angry old men. You know, old people, they're the worst. This appears to be the only testimony by X from what I've found in the notebooks until now. As for the Clan of Adoration, I have no idea of what it's supposed to be. Frankly, it sounds a little silly and very novelesque. It's true, by the way, that Yuga Park has deteriorated over time, and today it is frequented by prostitutes and, as you can see, young people looking to buy drugs. Our university outlawed smoking in campus only recently, which comes as a surprise to most people. I guess it hasn't fully seeped into our culture that secondhand smoke kills or whatever, but until very recently, most universities allowed in-campus smoking. Now, at certain times during the morning and early noon, the same mass of students gathers outside the campus entrances to puff away. Brad is part of this group. Of course, he has tried to quit innumerable times and failed. Frank and Aaron accompany him out of solidarity, or sometimes simply to bum cigarettes from him. This massive and timely movement of students in and out of the university did not go unnoticed, and soon enough there were people passing out flyers for all sorts of things: supplementary classes, night school, plans for working abroad during summer break, the occasional free condom handout, and, of course, new patricians. To say that new patricians is a cult would be exaggerated, but nobody is really sure of what it is. The locale itself is only a 20-minute drive away from our school, and its stylish brochures advertise vague concepts related to self-discovery and philosophical exploration. To us, the most interesting part was that these flyers were handed out by an assortment of wiry, heavily caffeinated, middle-aged women, regurgitating slogans and asking rhetorical questions out loud. Don't you want to know what life is really all about? And the boys had come to assume that New Patricians was some sort of New Age analog to a book club, a mostly vacuous endeavor started by bored housewives. However, we don't have a lot going on as a group at the time. Ever since the whole fiasco with the record store girl, weird shit hadn't crossed our path. So Brad, Frank and Aaron decided to go and investigate this thing, if only for kicks. The following is their account of what happened, as recounted to me by Aaron, who, as you know, is a man of few words. On their way to Kenny's, a small burger and fries place 2 blocks down from the university, on a Thursday afternoon, Frank swiped a bunch of pamphlets about new patricians from a bunch of different women